Welcome to the Dare to Grow Show. I'm Sarah Morgan, and my mission is to help you take daily action in your business, show up consistently and confidently for your audience, and earn more with digital products and programs. I know you have a rad vision for your life and business, but do you dare to grow? Let's jump into this episode and talk about how to make it happen. All right, welcome to episode 101. Today, we are talking about getting out of your own way, which often, when you get down to like the root of any business building problem, we are often the issue. We're avoiding something, overthinking, guessing instead of getting the data first. I don't care how long you've been in business or how big your audience or your email list is, how many things you've checked off the online business owner checklist. Everyone needs to get out of their own way at some point. And if you've been listening to the podcast or hanging out with me on Instagram, you know I love a process or a system for figuring stuff out. Because just hoping that you will get over it or magically feel confident tomorrow or not have these problems as your business grows is not realistic. 10 years in, I can say that. So it is important to figure out how to get out of your own way or have a system for figuring it out before you have a bigger business, more stuff on your plate. So number one, I bet you can guess what I'm going to say, make a plan. This is something that I do strategically every single month. I'm planning content, projects, promotions, but also I use making a plan to help myself feel better if I'm getting stressed out over all the things I want to do or need to accomplish. Sometimes I just have to write down everything that could possibly help me accomplish that goal, and just that act makes me feel so much better. This happens a lot at 10 p.m. at night when I should be getting ready for bed. And instead, I'm starting to think about things and what if I did this? And what if I did that? I just got to sit down and write it out, or else I'm going to overwhelm myself. Or if I'm needing to be more strategic, like if the project or the plan is the next thing or it's coming up soon, what are the next 10 steps that you can focus on? And then you put them in order of priority and then put those 10 things into your calendar so that you're not looking at the 500 tasks it's going to take, but you're looking at just the next 10 things. Often when I'm talking to Dare to Grow members or my one-on-one clients, they end up very in their head and they keep their plan in their head and the next steps in their head and all of their life stuff in their head. So it becomes very overwhelming very quickly. I've had people ask me before, how are you so chill about this? About work and life and personal stuff, and you just keep going. And the thing is, I don't keep all of this stuff in my head. So getting it out of my head and onto paper so I can plan and prioritize really goes a long way to de-stress my workday. The next way to do it is to speak it out loud. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're thinking about doing, you got to share it with someone, anyone. So I have a big project I've been working on behind the scenes, and I waited months to even say it out loud because I knew if I did tell someone, then it would start to become real. They would start asking how it's going, or if I tell one person, then I might want to tell other people. And then I would really have to do the thing, even though I'm mostly planning to do it, but holding back a little bit. So I would say from mid-2021 to this month, March, so 9 months, I thought about it and planned and schemed, and I did not tell anyone. Even though behind the scenes, I'm planning and daydreaming the whole time. So 2 weeks ago, I randomly mentioned it during a Dare to Grow call. And then I was okay, I told them. Nobody made a terrible face on that call. So I mentioned it in the Facebook group. And then I told my team. And I've told one other person outside of that. As I was telling people, I was just looking for one person to go, "Ooh, yes, I love that," which they did. So I'm going to do the thing. The project is in the process now. I'm going to announce it in a few weeks, so keep an eye out for that if you're curious now. But telling someone else, literally anyone, can start to light that fire and help you get moving. So tell a family member, tell a friend, tell a coworker, your neighbor, the person behind you in line at the grocery store. Tell one of your favorite clients or customers. That is a reaction you really want to consider for the validity of your idea. But just to get going, telling family and friends absolutely works. Now, often we slow ourselves down out of fear, so it's time to go through a little therapy. Also, real therapy is awesome too, but we're going to work through this with a little bit of journaling. Planning and journaling, my favorite things. So we're going to figure out what could go wrong. Grab a notebook, and I want you to just let your imagination run wild. Start thinking through the process of your project, or, if you're trying to go live or send an email, like what is going to happen along the way. And every time you feel your stomach flip or you get a pit in your stomach, like however your body reacts to something negative, write it down and then keep going. Write down all the stuff that makes you worry, makes you feel like it might not work, all the questions that come up, like, okay, if I do that, then I'm going to have to do this, and will that even work? Big stuff, little stuff too. So for example, right now I am stalling on approving my new podcast image, which will go live tomorrow because I'm recording this on a Wednesday. High five to me. If you've listened to my podcast before, I'm an issue with showing up on Sunday to record my podcast, but it's Wednesday today. So the new podcast image is going to go live tomorrow, but I can't decide if I want the little extra doodles on it or not. There's little stars. Obviously that decision is not really going to make a difference at all, but I can't decide. Doodles or plain. So write down the little silly trivial stuff as well, because obviously even that can slow you down. And then once you have a lovely list of negative feelings and issues and challenges, there are two ways that I like to work through that stuff. Number one is fear setting. This is a Tim Ferriss strategy, and it is essentially the opposite of goal setting. This is all about walking down the path of all the bad things happening and asking yourself 3 questions. How would you avoid it? How would you get through it if it actually happened? You're in it. How do you get through it? And then how would you recover from it? So you launch your course and no one signs up. How could you avoid that? You're going to make a list. And then how would you get through it? In the moment, it's happening, your cart is about to close, no one signed up. What are you going to do about it? Make a list. And then how are you going to recover? 0 enrollments, nobody signed up for your course. Now what? Make a list. And you will end up with a full action plan for every step of the way. And you might realize that 1, it wouldn't be so bad if shit went wrong. And 2, most of that stuff probably won't happen. And 3, if it does, you can figure out anything. You can figure it out. The other technique that I love is from The Work from Byron Katie. Her work is called The Work. So you can read the full process in her book. It's called Loving What Is. A little bit of a cheesy title, but it is so good. But essentially, you're getting deep into some logic by asking yourself a series of questions. Yes, more questions. So when a negative thought comes into your mind, you can say, is that thought really true? And then you're going to ask, how do I react when I believe that is true? And then how would I react without that thought? For example, I might believe that no one would hire me for $1,000 an hour. I can't get out of my way and raise my damn prices. So can I absolutely know that that is true? No, there are billions of people in this world. At least one person would spend $1,000 for what I know or what I do. And then the second question is, how do I react when I believe that no one would hire me at that price? I keep my prices low. I only reach out or I only market to a certain type of person who I think could afford my current rates. And question number 3, how would I react without the thought that no one would pay that much? Probably I would be more free with how I sell my stuff and how I talk about the benefits of my coaching. So you don't have to believe that someone would pay you $1,000 for an hour of your time, You have to imagine what you would do if that thought didn't exist. If you never considered that someone wouldn't pay you $1,000, what would you do? How would you react? Because sometimes our imaginations get away from us and we dream up a million scenarios that are unlikely to happen. But when you sit down and list them out realistically, most of them probably won't happen. Or if they do, it won't be so bad. They'll survive. Now, once you've done all of your journaling therapy, you might also want to get some support. You do not need to do this business stuff or life stuff alone. You don't need to figure out all the steps alone. You don't need to make decisions alone, and you don't need to hold yourself accountable alone. If you find yourself getting stuck on indecision and making a choice takes you like 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years instead of 2 hours, hi, me with my podcast graphic. Like, no judgment, obviously. Sometimes that happens. But if you find yourself getting stuck making decisions, having someone to bounce ideas off of or just ask the question is a better option, and it can help you take action and move a little bit more quickly. I find on every coaching call, someone asks, should I do this or should I do that? And I can tell the answer not because I'm some genius with tons of experience. Maybe just a little bit, but I'm looking at their face. They're on video with me, and I can always tell which option they're more into, what they're more excited about, what they're leaning toward, even though they're really feeling stuck. So trust your gut. If that's hard, get someone to help you. I will personally support you inside of Dare to Grow. The members are not just there for the training videos. Yes, there's training on all kinds of email, social media, mindset, systems, but they're also there so that at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night when they're having a panic, they're able to go in the Facebook group and I or someone else will jump in and help you work through it. Everybody in the Facebook group is so friendly and so supportive, and they're doing the same things that you're working on too. So just having that backup is helpful in knowing that you have people going through the same things, people who have done the things before you, and you can just check in with them and get a little support to help yourself keep moving. Business friends are awesome because we go through some weird stuff as we're growing and learning and putting on a million different hats. But you can totally find a friend who's working on their own project. It could be totally different. They may not completely understand what you're trying to do, but you can check in and keep each other moving for sure. Now, I left the scariest option for last, but the best way to get out of your own way and light a fire under your ass is to make an announcement. This is a big action incentive for me because I don't like letting people down. Like, sticking to my word is something I value. I value people knowing that they can rely on me and that I'm trustworthy. And so making an announcement of a launch or a project or a change or a new offer is a surefire way to make sure that I stay on top of shit and hit my deadlines. So to figure out if this tactic will help you, go through Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies. There's a quiz you can take. I'll leave you the link in the show notes. There's also a book that walks you through everything and goes into really good detail with lots of examples. So if you're not sure how to apply this, the book is awesome. But the 4 tendencies will tell you how you respond to expectations and whether you're like a self-starter or if you need outside accountability to take action. So there's 4. It's upholder, which they just want to know what needs to be done, and then they can do it. They don't need outside accountability that much. And then questioners, they want to know the why behind everything, and then they'll do it. Obligers need some sort of outside accountability. So like I said, I don't like letting people down. So sometimes that outside accountability, like making a big announcement, is really, really helpful. So if you're an obliger, this is the tactic you want to go for. And then lastly, rebels, they want freedom to do it their own way. They're not going to be held accountable by anybody else, and sometimes not even by themselves. But she has details on how to hold yourself accountable for all 4 of them in the book. So go grab that if you're interested. But I'm both an obliger and an upholder, which means sometimes I do things just because I know they need to get done and I can hold myself accountable. And sometimes I do things because I don't want to let someone else down. So knowing that information allows me to put checkpoints in my plan where I'm going to tell people about what I'm doing or what I'm planning, because just knowing that my audience or the Dare to Grow members know, even if they forget my announcement 2 minutes later, it still keeps me on task. I know that they know. So if you are wanting to create a free workshop or start a podcast or go on live on Instagram, tell your people. Go on stories. You can post a graphic. You don't even have to show your face, but tell somebody, especially if you're an obliger, because that will help hold you accountable to show up and get out of your own way. Going live was a big one of these for me. I would schedule it in my personal calendar, but if I didn't announce it to my audience, I would sometimes change my mind the day of or scooch it to the next day. So if I really want to be 100% sure I'll go live, to this day, I still do it. I will post an announcement, usually just on stories, and just that will hold me accountable. So reminder, you are allowed to take things one step at a time. There's no timeline that you have to follow. This is not an online business owner race. All you have to do is keep moving. And sometimes me included, we get stuck because we're looking at the project as this giant thing to overcome. I'm picturing this wall. It's like a rock face up in Torrey Pines, and it's just massive, and you can get right up close to it, and it's giant. So that's what I'm picturing here. You're just looking at the whole thing all at once, and it seems so impossible. So like I said earlier, I'm working on a big project. It's going to take me 2 months to complete. It's going to be done on May 10th, maybe? Was that an announcement? Maybe. But if I think about the whole thing at once, I get really overwhelmed. And to be honest, I start to get nervous and start to worry. Even though I've known, like I said, for 9 months, I'm going to do this thing. I've just started announcing it. I just spent a big chunk of change yesterday for something that's going to be part of it. So I still get overwhelmed when I look at the whole thing at once, even though I really just need to take the next step. Doing the one next thing isn't scary. Looking at the whole thing at once probably is. If you're building a house, you still need to make a blueprint and pick paint colors and flooring, and even the best contractor or builder will still go step by step. Even though they know the whole process and they've done it a million times, they still got to do the first thing. They aren't going to deal with the paint until the rest of the house is planned and probably well underway. So next time you feel yourself getting in your own way, I want you to remember that you don't need to pick the paint before you have a plan. You probably shouldn't pick the paint before you have a plan, which means you don't need to worry about the whole thing all at once. Make your plan and then focus on the next thing. All right, I hope you are feeling a little bit more confident and you learned some new tools to get yourself going again. As always, I love to hear the things that work for you. So head over to Instagram. Let's chat. You can find me at XO Sarah Morgan. All right, thank you for hanging out with me today. I will talk to you again next week. Oh, and one more thing before I go. If you have any questions on anything we talked about today, or if you are looking for help to market and grow your business, head over to daretogrow.co. That's daretogrow.co and join us in Dare to Grow. It's my membership for solopreneurs looking to simplify their marketing, show up with confidence, and finally grow their online business. You will get instant access to all of the trainings, the twice monthly coaching calls, our monthly planning and goal setting call, and our super supportive Facebook community filled with solopreneurs just like you. Seriously, it's so good. If that sounds like something you need, link is in the show notes or visit daretogrow.co, and I will see you inside.